Bachmann's new Palvan wagon has recently hit the stores. However, there are of course the usual suspects out there that are claiming Bachmann are now ripping people off. Not being so subtle about it, Bachmann are apparently ripping people off, despite offering pretty much the same thing as everyone else. And I for one think that is a load of absolute rubbish. Bachmann makes superior products, they make some fantastic models, and they make some of the best models on the planet. To suggest they are ripping people off because they are making the same products pretty much as everyone else is ridiculous. Let's investigate this a little bit further, shall we? Looks like we'll be needing this. Yep. Right. So Bachmann have recently released their new Palvan wagon. It's not something that I know of that's been released in recent years in ready-to-run format. I know that there's been examples of kit models, and I believe there might be some ancient tooling around from a previous manufacturer, but it's certainly what you would call coarse scale and not up to the modern standards that we have with us today. But like anything in this wonderful hobby of ours, it can't just hit the market, can it? No, it can't just come out and be appreciated and loved and wanted by people. No, there has to be a problem. There has to be something for people to kick back about, for to whinge about and complain about. And this is what's really grabbed my, shall we say, attention this week, shall we say, is I bought two Bachmann Palvans, and they're both fantastic. It's the same van essentially, same ring number. I might renumber it eventually. As you all know, I run a preserved railway, so they're covered in moss, but more on that later on. And we will take some closer looks at the actual model itself a bit later on. There's a lot of comments floating around online about how Bachmann's Palvan is a rip-off, how it's not worth the money, that it's missing features, and that it just isn't up to the standard that other manufacturers are bringing to the table with their own wagons, such as, let's say, Rapido, Accurascale, for example. Now, I will admit, the Accurascale van offerings are very nice indeed. They all have metal chassis and all the rest of it, and sprung turned metal buffers that are sprung and all that lot. And they're about 30 quid a wagon, £28 if you split the cost of a 3-pack up. And I think you can buy individual ones for certain liveries now directly from them. And I think from a couple of other manufacturers, from other retailers as well. But ostensibly we are now at the £30 mark for a 2-axle 4-wheel van vehicle. 12-ton van, 10-ton van, whatever, power van, shop van, whichever. You know the style. When I say a van, you know what a van is, don't you? You're not daft, right? We're at the 30 quid mark now. And there's also the market out there for people that want the old Wren toolings that Dapol have. I really do like them myself. I have several of them, and Dapol offers something that no one else does, in that they have this really old cool tooling. They've updated it enough for it to be acceptable and modern. The price is affordable and acceptable and everything else. But you can also have your custom designs put onto them now, and Dapol will run them for you. I know Jenny's had some done, Todd Marsh at Buggers Station's had plenty of them done, and even Laurie is now branching out into his own Dapol van thing, so I think I might have to do it at some point in the future as well. Do you want to see an Iron Horse Railways van? Let me know in the comments if you want to see that sort of thing, if you want to waste your money on me and my complete and utter nonsense. Anyway, rewinding back to the Palvan. It's a really good model. The detail is out the park superb. And just because it doesn't have sprung frigging buffers or a metal chassis doesn't mean that it's a rip-off. It doesn't mean that it's overpriced, and it doesn't mean that it isn't a high quality model. It really is. And what's even more laughable, I mean barely chortling hilarious, is people out there making the comparison with the Rapido, saying that the Rapido product is a better value for money option because you get more features with it. Do you really? Are you sure about that? Let's have a quick look, shall we? So here is the Bachmann Palvan. There you go. So we've got it there. No sprung buffers. Cool. Okay. Good underframe detailing. Very nice. There we are. NEM pockets at either side. I've got KDs on there because I'm not a monster or a 12-year-old child. Nice free spinning wheels, very good. The stuff you want there. Okay, superb. Good weight to it. It's not endlessly lightweight, but it's not massively heavy either. But what do you expect from a 2-axle van? It is what it is. And this cost me like 29 quid from Sawyer Models, so even the price isn't out the park either. It's about where we need to be. But pay attention. No sprung buffers, and it doesn't need them, really. Let's be brutally honest with you. This is double O gauge. You don't really need sprung buffers, unless you're one of those very few people that run like 4mm. Then, of course, you can cut them off and put your own turned metal ones on, which are sprung anyway, because that's your bike, that's what you want to do, and that's cool. And I tip my hat to you, because it's not something I could do. Don't have the patience for that, so you guys crack the fuck on. Please continue. I won't be doing it. I can't do it. I'm not educated enough to do it. But anyway, moving on. This is a Rapido 2-axle van, and you'll notice that it's a little bit lighter, not the end of the world lighter. It's not night and day different, but again, you'll notice with no sprung buffers, although still very high quality modelled buffers. You've also got, again, the same sort of high level moulded detail, good bit of underframe detail, and of course, nice free spinning wheels and proper NEM sockets underneath with the dovetails, and you can swap and change them for KDs because, again, I'm not a monster. We have proper couplings here. Why is it then that when the great unwashed out there amongst you see a Bachmann van for... Before getting to this, we're not bothered about RRPs. No one buys anything at RRP. Don't pretend that you do. I mean, unless you're buying from a Curascale, who for some reason you never see their products on sale. And if we do, it's not for a good amount of time. But skipping over a Curascale, we're not part of this race. You lads crack on. Go have a, like, Guinness or something, whatever you want to do. Anyway, so why is it then that when Bachmann release a model, and they want, and you see them in the shops for 29, 30 quid, and Rapido announce pretty much an identical sort of vehicle for 29, 30 quid, why is it that one is an absolute rip-off and not fit for purpose and yada yada, and one is the best thing since lacerated yeast product, sliced bread to me and you? Why is it that one represents being ripped off and Dick Turpined, and the other one is essentially Robin Hood, you know, stealing from the rich to feed to the poor? Why is it? They're both made up nicely, by the way, and I'm going to put some running shots in over this little rant of mine so you can see that they both run really well. Yes, that's right, it's time for the sponsors advert. Yes, of course, it is Sawyer Models of Lee. Why go anywhere else when you can get everything you need right here? They have rolling stock, accessories, scenic items, tools, whatever it is you need to build a banging model railway, they can absolutely supply it. And I should know because I've been going to them for quite a while now, and I've got everything I've needed from them. You can either buy from them from their website, or you can go in store for superb customer service. Remember guys, visiting Sawyer Models really does help me out, so if you can, please do so, and do your part to keep helping support small, local, independent model railway stores. We need them now more than ever. let's compare with the Dapol version. This is a Dapol 4-wheel van, 2-axle van, and again we have no sprung buffers, but these cost about 20 to 25 quid in the shops. But again, you've got nicely moulded detail, and I believe these are actually the older Wren tooling, which has had a few minor tweaks, if any tweaks at all. Certainly we've got metal wheel bearings and we've got lovely little NEM sockets again, because, say it with me boys and girls, we're not a monster, so we have KDs. Anyway, but look at it. No real underframe detail whatsoever, which is fine, and the detail that is there is quite thick. It's quite what you might call coarse scale. But like I've always said, from a foot away on your layout, trundling away, weathered up nicely, it does the job really nicely. Yes, these are certainly more affordable, but they are not in the same category as Rapido, and they're certainly not in the same category as Bachmann, which is why they're not the same price. Are you following me, or do I need to speak a little bit slower and perhaps write it in crayon for some of you boys and girls out there that may be a little bit slow on the uptake? Can't fairly compare the efforts of something like Dapol's, what I'm going to call their accessible range, to something that Rapido make, which is arguably almost like a boutique service in a way, where they have the order book format and they make the certain amount of wagons for however many people want them, and then that is what's made and they go to market. And if you pre-order one, you're probably going to get one, and you might get lucky and find one in a general retailer at some point, because retailers do buy them in bulk and have them stocked away. And then of course you always have the warehouse finds, which come out a couple of weeks later after they've all sold out. That's probably a mix of the fact that they keep some behind for warranty issues, because everyone has warranty issues. They do, even Rapido, Curascale, Dapol, whatever, the Hornby, they all have warranty issues. It's not an exclusive bloody thing. Now, they do that, and then you have a warehouse find, and then look, the wagons come back in, and you go, oh, I want that, and you go and buy it. Okay, that's cool, that's fine, but it is a tactic, so just be aware. Yeah, anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So you can't really compare what Rapido do to what Bachmann do. Bachmann are a massive, almost conglomerate type affair. They're owned by, is it a Candia? They're owned by some Yank firm, I think, or maybe German, I don't know. They're owned by someone, and they have bankers to appease, and they have everything else to think about. But look at it. It's got absolutely tons of detail on it. I would argue that in terms of finely applied separate detail parts, it's got more than the Rapido van has. And there's nothing wrong with the Rapido van whatsoever. But all these little door vents and handles and things, they're all separately fitted bits and pieces. The hinges are separately fitted pieces. We've got lovely brake rigging detail as well. Again, a lot of that is separately fitted. Really fine brake handles. It's just not a rip-off. I just don't understand. I honestly think that it's a rip-off. It's, on average, if you look around various online retailers and in your shops, you'll see the Bachmann van for sometimes the same price as the Rapido van, and at the most £2 more, depending on which variation you go for. If you go for a weathered version or a standard version or the pre-BR box type version, there's a few different variations of the tooling of the Bachmann van, and we all know how much tooling costs. We're talking like 6 figures for something like a basic van. It's a lot of money, and you can't expect Bachmann, Hornby, Dapol, Curascale, whoever, to just give the models away. It's not a realistic standpoint to have. And I know there's going to be a lot of you out there warming up your little keyboard fingers and tapping away in the comments saying, but Greg, you've got Bachmann before, you've said this and you've said that. Yes, I have said things about Bachmann before, and I am allowed to change my opinion. I thought that when they first announced their new Class 08, it was an extortionate amount of money for what you're getting. However, the more you see the details on that little thing, and the more you look at the work that Bachmann have put into the research and the new tooling, and it's not my cup of tea, but even their new remote uncoupling system that you can use if you've got tension locks, you sit back and you think, actually, they really have put a hell of a lot of thought and effort and work into this new tooling, and it really is going to be the definitive Class 08. And of course, circling back to what I said before, ain't nobody paying RRP for anything in this hobby. Just wait a minute and then you'll get it for 15% off, 10% off, 20% off. And you're not going to have to wait until the end of season sale when they all have the Christmas sales and 20% off and Black Fridays and all the rest of that shite. No, you don't have to wait. Just make a decision, be a grown-up, be an adult, decide if you want the thing. If you want the thing now, then just do your own little calculation, and if the maths add up in your head, forget what all the 5 people on RM Web or Facebook are saying, oh, it's a rip-off, it's this, that's the other. Make your own decision. Look at what I'm saying, look at what Jen's saying, look at what anyone else is saying, but make your own views as well. Make your own opinions, right? Do your own independent research as well. Get outside, go touch some grass, go to a model shop, go to a show and look at the actual model itself, because when you look at something online and you just look at what is essentially a load of JPEGs, yes, it does give you a fairly good idea of what sort of detail you're going to be getting and what sort of features you can expect from a model, but it is not the same. That is why manufacturers spend a lot of time, effort and money going to these model railway shows to meet and greet you folks out there and bring along their latest tooling prototype samples so you can have a good grubby look at with your fingers and you can ask them questions and you can get the feedback about things you might have on your mind. You want to know, well, why is the coupling like this? And you speak to someone and then they can explain to you why the coupling's like that. And it really is straightforward as that. To suggest that Bachmann are the only ones capable of ripping people off is folly. It's bollocks, to be absolutely honest with you. It really is. And I think it's got less to do with the quality of the Dapol wagons, the Rapido wagons and the Bachmann wagons, more to do with the fact that it's David and Goliath, if you will. You've got the smaller independent cottage industry manufacturers now that are out there, and they're making some fantastic stuff. A lot of it ain't perfect, there's still a few niggles to deal with, but again, like I've said, that isn't an exclusive thing to any one particular brand. Even Hornby and Dapol and Bachmann have QC issues. Everyone does. There's not really any one manufacturer which is worse than others, unless you... No, I'm not going to say that. But I think it's very much a David and Goliath situation. You've got big, mean Bachmann, and you've got these blokes up there with a big cigar going, rah, profit margin, shareholders, let's rip everyone off, let's rip them all off, 40 quid for a brake van. That's fine, but Rapido also charge about 40 quid for a brake van as well. It was just a towed van. Very nice van at that, I will say that, very nice model. But why is it's acceptable for Rapido, Durascale, the smaller manufacturers, to charge pretty much whatever they want, and they usually get ostensibly applauded and commended for such great efforts and great pricing and not ripping off the modeler and yada. But if Hornby do it, or Dapol do it, or heaven forfend, Bachmann do it, all of a sudden it's a game of rip-off merchants. It's an exercise in extortion when you see people online defending these multi-million pound companies. And I'm not defending Bachmann, they don't always get it right, but if I'm brutally honest with you, a lot of my stock is Bachmann. And actually, funnily enough, a lot of it is also Hellion, surprisingly enough, in terms of locomotives, and we've got a little bit of Durascale as well, and a small amount of Rapido. So I've got experience with all the major manufacturers these days. I just find it a bit of a conundrum. Is conundrum the right word? A bit of a curio. I think that's the one. A bit of a curio that when Bachmann release a model and they assign their RRP to it, that people immediately go, it's too expensive. First of all, understand, guys, that not everything that comes out is aimed at you. Not everything that comes out is aimed at you or your pocket or your budget, and I can fully appreciate that when you started the model 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you could buy a 4-axle van for a £5, but what do you want me to say, guys? Things end up getting more expensive. That's not really anyone's fault. I mean, we all wanted more detail, we all wanted more features, we all wanted the fine scale swappability and the couplings and the sound files and everything else. We wanted that. And now we've got it, and now the cost of implementing those things that we've got used to has gone up, all of a sudden there's a lot of dummies being spat out. There's a lot of dummies being spat out, and a lot of issues have come up, and a lot of people are slamming Bachmann and Hornby, saying that you rip off merchants, you're this, you're that, and the other. And yes, I'm fully aware, I've made comments myself in the past, yes, fine, good. For those of you that don't know, my videos are very reactionary, and they just sort of speak on what's happening at the moment in time. So as things progress, they don't always stay relevant. I do try and go back and prune where I can, but for the most part, just understand, if you watched a video that was done like 12 months ago, there's a good chance my opinion's changed, which it is allowed to do. Now, unfortunately, there's always going to be the crowd that follow people blindly, and that's never a good thing. You're always going to have the fanboys, if you will, and let's face it, manufacturers do have their fanboys, as do people that do the whole YouTube talking head thing. They all have their own followers and their own clans and groups and supporters and haters as well, critics and all the rest of it. And you must try to remain objective, boys and girls. You must try to remain not on the fence, but just understand that when someone is consistently ranting about something being wrong or incorrect or completely perfect, there may well be an ulterior motive at play. Now, I'm not saying that there is. For 1 second, I'm not implying that anyone is on the make, or that anyone is creating content by purposefully damaging things or stretching the truth, shall we say, just to get a few clicks and views. I'm not suggesting that whatsoever, so let's get that out right away, okay? But to then suggest that when you're on your little Facebook groups saying that Bachmann are ripping people off because they're charging the same as everyone else, or you can find their models for the same as everyone else's models, is completely nonsensical to me. It's not like it's a cheap model, it's really good. I bought 2 of them. They're really fantastic models. Look at the detail on them. Go out and look at one yourself. They are really well made models. I think there's an issue with some of the dovetail slipping down, but guess what? A little dab of black tack or even a bit of PVA sorts that right out. And I've had that happen with Hornby and Acura scale wagons and even Rapido wagons before now as well. But it's not something to cry about and get online and whinge about and get upset about and start calling people a rip-off merchant. There's no need for that whatsoever. It's just about having a little bit of almost putting the brakes on, really, before taking to social media and slamming people and manufacturers and everything else. I saw recently someone had put a Dapol Class 88 on a Facebook page, and he was complaining because it was running backwards and forwards and it was a little bit noisy. Turned out that he hadn't bothered to run it in properly. He just took it out of the box and gone, look at that, it's running like shit. And several people said to him, have you actually run it in yet? Because it probably just needs a little bit of bedding in. You know, it's one of those things. If it's running smoothly, clearly nothing's catching, so there's no loose gears or anything, and it's under warranty anyway. So how about you bed it in first, as per the manufacturer's actual physical instructions say that you should do, and then maybe run it in for a bit longer. I know half an hour each way is the industry standard, but I've often found that an hour in each direction and then a little bit of cleaning the wheels often does yield more pleasing results. Just above half speed I usually do. I've tried that with every locomotive I've had, and it's always yielded good results. Now, if your model breaks during the recommended braking period, well, break-in period, that's probably a bad choice of words, isn't it? But if it does develop a fault, you are covered under your warranty and your statutory rights. So don't panic about running it in and sending everything back to the manufacturers. Just bed the bloody thing in. It's not hard. Anyway, look, my blood pressure's up now, and I'm all angry and frustrated, and I think I need a kebab, so I'm going to go do that. Watch a video, watch another video somewhere, and do the thing with the like and the clicky. I think it should be over there somewhere if I've done this whole end screen properly. Yeah, just stay objective, guys. All right, keep your mind free-flowing, and try not to fall into the trap of everything being a rip-off because it's Bachmann. All right.